When I speak to children, explaining to them what Shiva is, I explain to them that the point of the week of Shiva is a week just focused on the nifter, telling stories about the nifter, memories about the nifter, experiences about the nifter. The point is not to come in and talk about frivolous and mundane subjects. So coming in to pay a Shiva call, telling any stories, any memories, any experiences, any positive lessons that you may have learned from the nifter, even from a child. He always had a smile on his face. He always had a positive attitude. He always behaved nicely in class or played nicely with my kids when he came for a play date. Any little positive story, memory, or experience that you can share with a parent about their child is a tremendous nechama. And even if that makes them cry, it's okay to say things that will evoke tears. Some of the don'ts, in terms of do's and don'ts of Nichum Avelim, is not to suggest that their child is in a better place, not to suggest that they have other children, not to suggest, well, at least it happened, in their sleep, or it happened this way, or it happened that way. Parents really are not in a place, certainly during Shiva, to be hearing things like that. There are no real wrong things, though, that you can say. Coming in and crying and just holding their hand sometimes is the best thing they can say. A bereaved parent once told me that the most meaningful Shiva visit that he had when he lost their child is a friend who lived in Baltimore, who drove all the way from Baltimore to Far Rockaway, sat down, took a picture of the child, looked at it, cried for 10 minutes, said the Hamakom, and drove back to Baltimore. There isn't always something that has to be said. Coming and expressing emotion and expressing tsa'ar, holding a person's hand, crying with them, is sometimes the most meaningful Shiva visit that a person has. But again, talking about the nifter in a positive way, sharing experiences about them, sharing lessons that you will now take with you in your life. Again, if a child always had a smile on their face, to say, you know what, I'm going to try to have a smile on my face no matter what happens, no matter what comes my way, that perhaps is the biggest nechama to a parent. It is not a good idea during Shiva visits to ask for details. Whether a child died from an illness, to ask details about the illness, how long they were sick for, when they were diagnosed, what diagnosis it was, were they in pain, or if it was from a traumatic, sudden occurrence, to ask details about what happened, whether it was a car accident or a fire, how did the fire start, or how did the accident happen. It is first of all none of our business really, but it is certainly not the time and place to be asking for details. Parents do not want to get into it. If they offer the story, then to just politely listen and not ask for more details. People who are very well-meaning and care about those who are sitting Shiva who lost a loved one will sometimes try to do things to take away their pain. They see them crying, they see them upset. Don't cry. You should really be doing this, you should really be doing that, or doing things for them to take away their pain, to mask their pain. Pain is an extremely important part of the process. Pain is a part of the expression. It is part of the grief process that the parents have to go through. And if they don't go through it then at that time when they need to, it will be hidden and come out at a later point. So although, again, we love and care about our friends or our family who are sitting Shiva and who have lost a loved one, but to let them go through the process the way they need to. It's a very individual process. Every person goes through it differently. Every adult, every child will express themselves differently. Some people will need to cry. Some people will need to talk. Some people will turn to tefillah. Some people will just sit and be quiet the whole week of Shiva, or maybe for months afterwards. Each person has to go through it in their own individual way, and it's important to let them do it and not to guide them or suggest to them what they should or should not be doing. After Shiva, if you want to help them find a mode of expression, what works best for them. If you know your family, your loved one, if you know they like to write, buy them a journal and a pen. Let them express themselves in writing. If kids like to draw, buy them markers or crayons. If they like to sing, a musical expression. Every person should have a mode of expression, but again, for each one, it's a very, very individual process and expression. One of the biggest fears that a parent who lost a child has is that the world will forget their child. So if you have the question of seeing a bereaved parent, a month later, 3 months later. Let's say you meet a mom in the supermarket and you're shopping for bananas and you see her, you don't know what to say. Anything that will remind her of her child, any memory, any experience, any lesson that you learned from that child will be great nechama to the parents. For example, again, you could say, I remember your child had such a lichtig smile and really always had a positive attitude. When he was sick, no matter what he went through, he always had a smile on their face. I remember that to this day, and I want you to know that whatever I'm going through, I try to smile, l'zecher nishmas, to your child, because that's what he taught me. And even if the parent starts to cry over the bananas, it will be tears also of joy that someone is remembering their child, and their child's legacy is living on in another person, in another family. So don't be scared to bring up their child. Even if you see them, again, months down the road, don't be scared to say, oh, you know what, I really shouldn't bring up their lost child in the supermarket over bananas. It's going to make them sad. No, lehefech, bring them up. Tell the parent what you remember of the child. Tell the parent what legacy and what lessons are remaining with you through their child. There's a wonderful story that I heard from my Rav about a Rav from Yerushalayim generations ago who was going to pay a Shiva call to 2 little boys. These boys just lost their father. Several years prior had lost their mother. So like any good big Rebbe, he went with his entourage of Talmidim, and they went into the Shiva home, sat down for a few minutes, and then the Rebbe started speaking and telling stories about the boy's father. They were there for a little bit, a few stories, said the Hamakom, and left. When they were leaving, the Talmidim said to their Rebbe, what about the halacha that you're supposed to wait for an Avel to speak? Why did you start speaking first? So the Rebbe turned to his Talmidim and said, what do you mean? You didn't hear the boys screaming? You didn't look into their eyes and see the screams in their eyes and the crying in their eyes? I just responded to what they were saying. Very often we have to look into the children's eyes and really see what they're saying to us. Little children don't always know how to talk, will not always come and say, I'm sad, I lost my father, I'm scared, this is going to happen to me, I'm confused why this is going on. It is our job to look into those children's eyes and to try to see what they're saying to us, even when there are no words involved. For each family who loses a child, it is a very, very individual process. There are no 2 families who will go through it the same. Even if a child died in the same way, whether it's the same diagnosis or the same tragedy, everybody is different. Every woman is different. Every husband is different. A few just words of advice that I can give you in terms of making the process your own. First of all, remember that everyone is different. Husbands and wives are very, very different. I don't know about you, but I did not marry my twin. I married my opposite. And our strengths and our weaknesses complement each other. So you and your husband are going to go through this differently. First of all, just because one is a man and one is a woman, and men and women are created very, very differently. But the important thing is from the onset to know that, to love and respect each other for your differences, to complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. When one is up, the other one will be down. When one is down, the other one will be up. To pick each other up, to recognize you as a woman, that your husband may not be crying with you all the time, but as long as he's there and not putting you down for crying and respecting you for crying and loving you for crying, and as long as you can respect and love your husband for not crying and for dealing with it in his way, whether it's throwing himself into his learning or going back to work or talking to his Rav, you need to respect and love each other's differences. Know that it's a process. Know that this is not going to go away overnight. Know that time is the best healer. Yes, the first year is going to be the hardest. It's going to be the first Shabbos, the first Yontif, the first birthday, the first Yahrzeit. Know the triggers. Know when you pass your child's favorite store, when his class is having their bar mitzvahs and he's not there. Know the triggers. Expect them. Know tomorrow is going to be a hard day, and prepare yourself for it. But know that time definitely is the best healer. One of the best analogies I heard for bereaved parents is that initially it feels like you're being crushed by a ton of bricks. You can't move, you can't breathe, you can't think straight, you can't see straight. And you're going to stay like that for a while. But slowly over time, one brick is going to be removed, and then another brick is going to be removed. And again, initially, you won't even feel a difference. You'll still feel like you can't breathe and you can't move. But again, slowly over time, those bricks are going to be removed one by one by one. And slowly, you'll be able to start breathing. You'll be able to start moving. You'll be able to start functioning. until the time where there is one brick left. That brick you're going to keep in your pocket. It will always be there. Your child will always be with you. Some days that brick is going to weigh you down, and some days you might even forget it's there. So just know that there is a light ahead at the end of the tunnel. Get the support that you need until that time comes. Surround yourself by friends, by family. But again, those friends and families, well-meaning, may tell you, give you advice, you should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this. This is your pain, your process. You're the only one who lost a child. You do what you need to do to get through it. I always tell children, when I talk to kids about losing somebody, I say, you know, when you're sitting in school and you do 2 + 2 is 5, the teacher will tell you, no, you're wrong. But when it comes to the way you're feeling about losing somebody, nobody can tell you you're wrong. And that's a lesson for the adults also. You do what you need to do. You go through it at your pace. You express yourself how you need to express yourself. And find that mode of expression, whether it's writing or drawing or music or tehillim or taking long walks or talking to a mentor or a rabbis. Find a way to express yourself, because I promise you, if you leave it inside, again, like I say to the kids, it'll grow and it'll grow, and one day it will burst like a volcano. So find the way that you need to take care of yourself, that you need to express yourself, share with others who have gone through it. But again, know that no one is going through this loss like you, because it's yours. When telling children about death at different ages, there are certain things to keep in mind. Preschool age kids until about 1st grade do not understand the finality of death. Their whole world is 5 minutes. Their whole world is their own Dalet Amos. So first you need to explain to them, really to start to explain to them the finality of death and what death really means. When somebody dies, when someone is nifter, these are words that are thrown around that the adults use a lot, but do kids really understand what those words mean? When I talk to children, preschool age children, I get down on the floor with them, and the first question I ask is, what does that mean that Sarah's mother died? What does that word mean? And I'll get different answers. What I want to know is that they don't believe any of the myths, such as Sarah's mommy went away for a long time, or Sarah's mommy went to sleep for a long time. Because what will happen is they'll be scared to go to sleep, or they'll be scared the next time their father has to go on a business trip, or they have to fly to Yerushalayim. So I want to hear from them that Sarah's mommy is in Shamayim, that Sarah's mommy is not coming back. I need to hear from them, and you as the adults unfortunately need to say to them, we are not going to see Sarah's mommy anymore. They need to start to understand the finality of death. Preschool age children also do not have the capacity to express to you their feelings. They're not going to come and say, I'm really scared that my mom is going to die, or I'm really sad, or I'm really confused. So what we have to do is really watch them in their element. Watch them play. Many things will come out in their play. Watch them draw, and listen to the conversations that they're having with the other preschool age children during break time. School age children will be very focused on the details. How did it happen? What did she look like? Where is she now? Who's taking care of her now? Be prepared with the answers, or be prepared to say, you know what, I really don't know. I'm going to find out for you. But details that they are able to understand at their age, it is important to share with them, because kids' imaginations are sometimes worse than reality, number one. And number two, I would much rather have them hear the information from you, a trusted adult, a parent, than hearing it from a kid on the school bus or on lunch at line. High school age kids will start with the more hashkafic questions. Tzadik Varalo will start to relate it to themselves. I can't imagine if this happened to me. I can't imagine if I was in her place. They start thinking almost like an adult. Again, be prepared to answer some tough questions, or be prepared to say, you know what, let's speak to Rabbi so-and-so about this, or I'm going to try to get those answers for you. But at each age, according to their level, try to be as honest as possible. Try to share with them with emotion, with a calm emotion. Kids read body language very, very well. Don't be scared to cry with them. If you're in control, crying with them only role models an appropriate expression. It shows them that it's okay to be sad. It's okay for adults to be sad. If you feel yourself, though, getting hysterical and losing control, it is important to leave the room, calm down for a few minutes, and then come back. Because the scariest thing for kids at any age is to see the trusted adults lose control. One important question is the question of Mashiach. Mashiach is absolutely a basic of our Yahadus. It is a yesod of our Emunah, and we daven and hope for Mashiach every single day. But if we focus on Mashiach, especially with the little kids, we're going to see Sarah's mommy when Mashiach comes. We're going to see Sarah's mommy when Mashiach comes. What happens is kids, certainly little kids, will stand at the door the next day. Where is Mashiach? You said I'm going to see Mashiach. I'm going to see my mommy when Mashiach comes. So a good way to put it into context for kids is to say, you know, we are davening and hoping for Mashiach every day, but we've been waiting a long, long time for Mashiach. We don't know when Mashiach is going to come. Even our bubbies and zadies, when they were your age, have been waiting for Mashiach. It puts it into a context of we've been waiting for a long time, although we do hope that Mashiach is going to come. If the kids ask questions about the guf, the neshama, the burial, where the person is now, a very, very easy way to explain to kids about that idea is take them back to Parshas Bereshis and say, you remember when your Mourner taught you how was Adam created? Adam was created in two ways. His body came from the dust of the earth, and the neshama, Hashem blew into him, gave him like a kiss, and a piece of Hashem went into him. That's the neshama. That's a part of Hashem that everybody has. When a person dies, both parts of the person go back to where they came from. The guf goes back to the dust of the earth, and the neshama goes back to Hashem, where he's happy and he's healthy and he's with Hashem and he's watching you and is going to be proud of you and going to watch you grow and watch you do mitzvos. And that part of him will be with us always. It's a challenge for us as the adults, as parents, of course, to keep the presence of those adults or of the child, of the nifter in our lives. And that will be a very individual decision, but some suggestions, of course, are to put pictures next to the bed of your child and the loved one, to keep them into conversations. Don't take the pictures off the wall. Talk about them. Serve their favorite Shabbos food at the Shabbos table and say, remember, Yankee loved this kugel. For every person, of course, you know, it's an individual process, but to try your best to keep them in your lives in a positive manner. To keep the lines of communication wide open, to tell your children always, you can come talk to me, you can come ask me any questions, even if you think it's going to make mommy sad to talk about, that's okay. I want to talk to you. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're feeling. We're a family. We're in this together. Each one of us may be going through it in a different way, but we're a family and we're going to stick together, and we're always going to love each other, to be strong, and to keep that person in our lives. It is a good idea for children of any ages to remind them how much Hashem loves them. Hashem loves you. Hashem loves Tati or Yankee or whoever it is that was nifter. And sometimes we don't understand what Hashem does. We know Hashem loves us. We know everything He does is for the best. But sometimes we don't understand, or we may even get upset at things that Hashem does. You can compare it to like mommy and Tati. We love you. We want the best for you. We will never do anything to hurt you. But sometimes we do things that might upset you or confuse you, and you don't understand what's going on. But that's okay, because you know that we love you. The same thing with Hashem. It's hard not to understand why. It's hard not to understand why Hashem is doing something, but just to remind children, Hashem loves you, and for whatever reason, Hashem thinks this is for the best.